Welcome to the Creator Podcast. Jesse here, and I'm super excited to be with you today. We're going to be talking about when you actually feel like you've arrived, that's when you start to survive, and also the importance of just being consistent in your business and in your life. I cannot wait to talk more about that, and I just want to jump right in to a story. And this is a real story that happened to me, a good friend of mine. We were in high school. We were probably about 15 years old at the time, and he was doing wrestling for the Viewmont Vikings. Amazing wrestler. And one of the things that consistently happened is him and I were eating lunch together is he would be fine one week, and then the next week he'd be trying to drop weight for his next match. And I remember watching him. He would eat during the weeks that there was nothing, no big deal. And then the weeks that he had to drop his weight, he wouldn't eat anything. In fact, he was looking like a little fatigued, kind of flush, and the skin just was miserable and irritable. And it was really interesting watching that whole situation because one week he'd be the happiest guy, and the next week he'd be kind of miserable or kind of quiet and a little irritable. And it got me thinking about business a little bit. I ran into him the other day, and him and I just kind of talked and reminisced about wrestling and the things that he did and the amazing things that he went through within his wrestling career and now with his life and his family. And it was really cool to reminisce on those days, but it reminded me and got me thinking about this whole situation and, more importantly, the importance of having consistency. You see, with him, one of the things that took him a couple years to really learn was that if he just continued to eat the right foods every single day, and then he continued to put on the strength, he would be fine. And he would not have to worry about the weight. But early on in his career, he would eat, and then he would drop the weight. And then during the week where he was dropping the weight, it was also the week of the match, and he'd lose. And he'd consistently get beat every single time. And the reason why he'd get beat is that he was not strong enough. He lost a lot of his physical strength. His body started to eat inside the progress that he was making. So all these hours in the gym, his body couldn't maintain and get stronger because it was just eating and it was fatigued. It was eating the muscle, eating all these things and using energy while he continued to starve himself. And so he found himself continuing to lose, and it was frustrating as heck. But he stayed with it, and I definitely acknowledge and praise that individual for sticking with something. And over time, what he was finding was that he didn't like the way he felt. He would spend all this time eating food, and then the weeks where he had to drop it, he would drop it. And before he knew it, he's like, something's got to change. I can't keep doing this. And he started to eat healthy more and more, eat the right foods that would give him strength. He started to get involved with coaching programs and things to really help him optimize his body for his success. And before he knew it, he started winning. And so I want to talk about that with business today because I've experienced this, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that has. Maybe you listening to this episode right now are going, oh my gosh, I can totally relate. But how many times are we fine, no big deal, and then all of a sudden we've got to hit a goal to keep our doors open? So we just go absolutely crazy. Flash sales, we're doing all sorts of different things in order to get our business to stay open in some cases, in other cases just to hit our goal. It's just this, one week we're fine, the next week all hell breaks loose, right? And we have to hurry and get the closings, get the sales, all that stuff. And so a lot of it is very similar to the story of the gentleman I shared earlier. Most of the time, we're inconsistent. We're feeling good, like, hey, we're happy, right? No deadlines, nothing's coming up. And then the week of the deadline, we're trying to scramble and hit our quota, whatever it is. We're burning ourselves out doing that. And we're not maximizing our attributes and our qualities and gifts while, we're in that phase. It's a survival phase. And it's something that I tell a lot of people is once you feel like you've hit this arrival moment, like, oh, I've arrived, I don't need to worry, I don't need to stress out, then you start to survive. Now, real quickly, I use the words worry and stress. And the reason why I use the words worry and stress is because in this situation, it is stressful. Now, I'm not saying that you have to stress out. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I'm telling you, you can not be stressed and you can have an amazing business by following simple programs that continue to keep you consistent in your business. And so it could actually be easier for you with less stress by staying more consistent. So that's what I want to talk about today. So when you hit this arrival moment or this, I don't need to worry, right? I can let my foot off the gas. I can coast for a bit. That's when you start to get into a survival state. And the longer you stay in that arrival state, the harder it's going to be for you to survive, especially if you have bills or employees that you've got to pay and the money's not coming in. And so I really want to hit home the importance today of just staying consistent with what you're doing. I look at one of my businesses 7 years ago, and it was very, my wife and I just started our real estate business. We did everything, posting on Facebook. We were doing open houses. We were doing anything and everything we could to stay relevant and to make money. We were, in other words, hustling, right? Or grinding, some of the words I don't like now. But what we found is as we continued to grind, we met more and more people, and those people were very generous and shared their experiences with other friends, and those friends called us, and before we knew it, it started to become easier for us. Well, because it became easier for us, we also found that we didn't have to work near as hard to make the money we wanted or to make the same amount of money that we were making. And what we found was that before we knew it, everything that we were trying to build was then right before our eyes going, okay, we have to either go back and grind and go back to this or we're going to lose it all. And it got really real for us. And that was one of the biggest moments in my business. I recognized that just because things are getting easier doesn't mean you take your foot off the gas. Doesn't mean that you stop doing the things that made your business successful during that time, right? In fact, at one point we let go of our entire sales process and we're just working off of referral base, which is great. However, the sales process didn't bring in new sales. So when there wasn't any referrals or when things kind of got tight or people started questioning whether or not we were in real estate, our business started to struggle because we weren't putting out anything. We weren't consistently reminding people or nurturing people to work with us. So it kind of sounds similar to this whole story about not eating the right macros, right? And one day you're going all in, the next day you're coasting back. And you see, life is meant to be consistent progression. You can't just water a flower and give the flower a lot of water in a single day, expecting it to grow. You have to consistently make sure that that flower is getting the right nutrients, sunlight, and everything. Just like a baby. You can't just give a baby a bottle once a day and expect the baby to be happy and grow. So why is it that sometimes some entrepreneurs are giving their business the bottle once a day and expecting it to grow? Or why is it that some days their business doesn't even get the nutrients it needs to grow and it gets neglected because the money's there, everything's fine, everything's easy, and so we're just going to not worry about a sales call today, or we're not going to do the things that have made us successful in the past? These are big questions. And what you're going to find in this episode is it's all about the consistency. And a lot of times, if there's lack of consistency in your business, there's lack of consistency in other aspects of your life. Are you consistent with your health? Are you consistent with making sure that your relationships maintain? Chances are probably not. Now, you may be better in one area than another. We all have better strengths or different strengths and weaknesses than one another. But are you being consistent in everything and with full intent on why you're doing what you're doing? Sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes you're not feeling well. Sometimes it's just a pain in the butt to get up and work. I get it. It's normal. It's life that we live in. But that consistency requires us to get up and do it. And some days it will be easier than others. Some days we'll literally show up, work, and be like, where did the day go? Because it's unconsciously installed in our mind, which is great. We're in a flow state. We're ready to go. But my biggest question is are you doing the roller coaster ride of trying to drop 10 pounds the week of the match? Or are you maintaining the weight throughout the process and getting stronger and actually winning? You see, my friend, as he continued to progress, became a national champion because he found that what he needed to do was optimize his body. And as he optimized his body with the food he was eating, he got stronger. And as he got stronger and stayed leaner, he was just a force to be reckoned with when he was out there on the mat wrestling other people. And so that's what I'm hoping that all of us can do with our business. Any entrepreneur, is that they can focus on optimizing their business, maintaining the consistency so that they're the strongest business they can be, that they can be a national champion, that they could be a best company, a Fortune 500 company, whatever that is that entrepreneur is striving to become, whatever you are striving to become. It's my hope that you can stay consistent and work at that. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If this episode hit any emotional nerves with you, please feel free to share it with your friends. If it struck a chord and it was great and you feel like this is exactly what you needed to hear, please share your honest feedback on the show. How can we improve? We want to look for ways to improve this show. Also, please feel free to reach out to me if you have a question or something you'd like to address. I'd love to talk to you. And my information is in the show notes below. Thank you so much for watching, listening, and seeing whatever social media platform you're attending on with this show. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a fantastic day.